Hello, everybody, and welcome to my presentation. Today, we'll be talking about why you should listen to African music. Um, Here, presenter is the great Fela Kuti. Once again, we'll be talking about why you should listen to African music. I'll be discussing this topic to give you guys a different perspective and hopefully convert you all into fans of African music. Let's get straight into the topic. You get a different worldview. Listening to music that is made by people with vastly different lifestyles from different walks of life gives you the ability to peek into their worldview, which allows you the chance to get to wiser and more knowledgeable. Your perspective on familiar topics will be broadened. Many of us in America have been exposed to similar lines of thought for basically our whole lives, especially people who do not interact with different cultures or religions. As a result, we tend to be close-minded and uncreative. Simply listening to music from a different culture, especially the myriad of African cultures, represents one easy way to open your mind in the quest for knowledge. You would be surprised at how different people may think of something you already know of in Africa, which is sometimes expressed in music. You might learn a new speaking technique or a new language. This is probably an obvious result of listening to music in a different language or in a different interpretation of your own language. People speak many different languages across the continent, so just listening to these songs can allow you to pick up a new catchphrase or learn a new language in the process. I've learned a lot of Nigerian slang because I listen to Nigerian music. For example, how you dey means how are you, and the phrase Igobi would translate to it is what it is, basically. African music is slowly becoming mainstream, so I think Africa is evolving into a globally recognized music hotspot. For example, Rema, pictured here, in only 1 year has transformed into an African icon, basically. Fashion-wise, music-wise, he's a superstar, and I feel like if he continues in the same vein, he could end up being a global superstar in less than 10 years. Therefore, if you're somebody who likes hopping on trends, you'll probably want to start listening to guys like Wizkid, Burna Boy, or Davido before you get left behind. Like I said earlier, listening to music from Africa, whether it's Afrobeats, hip hop, Amapiano, Rumba Lingala, or many of the hundreds of sounds produced on the continent, gives you a different worldview. Apart from that, there are plenty of other reasons to check the different sounds of the motherland. You can dance. As we all know by now, Africans love to dance. So this is reflected in the music we make and consume. Genres such as West African Afrobeats, South African Amapiano, or Congolese Rumba have become famous because of how groovy they are, just like to dance, yeah. Discover a new genre and a new artist. I myself am African. Yeah, almost every day I discover a new genre or subgenre of music produced in South Africa or Nigeria alone, the two biggest industries in Africa. So imagine somebody who's not African and has never been to the continent, like most of my classmates, for example. You basically find something new every time you search on YouTube or Apple Music. You understand the music being conveyed by the musical artists. Burna Boy, Afrofusion artist, uses his platform to talk about the issues Nigeria faces as a country, touching on topics like internet fraudsters, dishonest lifestyles, and the government, all while making a song to dance to. It's easy to miss the point if you're too busy dancing, but if you pay enough attention, you'll understand the message and learn something new. You find a way to connect to other cultures from Africa. There are thousands of cultures in Africa, each with their own unique cadence and flair. This often translates into the music. I find that music is an easy way to connect to a different culture because it gives a glimpse into the way people talk, act, dress, and generally communicate. You remove stereotypes. When you think of African music, the general stereotype is probably Nigerian high life, with the drums. Okay, that's not really high life, but however, there's so much more to African music than that, and I believe it is almost criminal to lump together 54 intrinsically different countries into one label. Generalizations and stereotypes normally do not survive first contact, so the best way to remove stereotypes is to simply plug in and start listening to the sound. Music made in the West is very different from music made in the South, East, and Center of Africa. The vast differences in culture are reflected in the differences in music. Become more open-minded due to exposure. As mentioned earlier, stereotypes rarely survive first contact. You'll be surprised at how similar we are as human beings, and you find that our differences are what make us unique and should be celebrated. Some of the greatest African artists like Fela Kuti provide deep insight that educates and entertains. You become more intelligent by listening to African music because you're listening to music that you're not accustomed to. You learn something new and you become more knowledgeable and intelligent as a result. You also connect with Africans where you live. Music is a great tool for connecting to people. I often find that I have little in common with people from a different part of Africa than me, except that we listen to the same kind of music. This serves as a ground zero of sorts to build a relationship, especially here in ORU, because there's only like 2 people that come from my country back home. No, actually it's like 1 person, but I've connected with different people from different countries because of the music. So it's incredibly easy to bond with somebody through music, and those relationships often last long, in my opinion. You also embrace cultures you've never been involved in. As mentioned before, music is a great tool for connecting people. There's a whole area on the internet dedicated to Korean pop culture, which has united millions from all over the world. I imagine if the same can occur for African music, it'll give people a chance to embrace a culture they've never experienced and give a new appreciation for the world. You might be lured to come and experience the culture firsthand by visiting an African country of your choice. No matter how much music you listen to, you will never really connect until you come to Africa and understand the music firsthand. Who knows, listening to some of the continent's best sounds might entice you to come and see for yourself. More on that later. If indeed this is the case, we'll welcome you with open arms. Here is a Sounds of Africa playlist that I have curated myself. Basically, these are the songs that I believe you should, jump into if you're thinking of listening to African music. Obviously, there's millions of songs out there. Most of them are probably better than these, but these are my personal favorite that I think would give you like a deep dive into African culture. Starting with Wizkid, Ojo Elegba, and then the rest will support that. So in conclusion, there's so much to learn from just 3 minutes of words and a beat. I encourage you to just indulge yourself and see what happens. Cheers.